Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. It's that time again, time to talk.
Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Give me the Star Wars, don't let them end.
Yes, The Last Jedi is here. Let's talk about it. Before we get into it, since it is a franchise film, let me give you my hierarchy of the current Star Wars movies so you know where I'm coming from when I review The Last Jedi. So here we go. At the top, my current favorite Star Wars movie, Return of the Jedi. That's just my favorite. Sorry guys, I absolutely love it. Then right under that, very close second, The Empire Strikes Back. Also an awesome movie, but I like Jedi just a slight bit more. Then under that, my first controversial one, I'm pretty sure, is Rogue One. I love Rogue One. Hell, I'm wearing my K2SO shirt. It's so good. I love, how harsh it is, and I love the ending. It's just a really solid movie. I really like Rogue One. Then under that, we got A New Hope. The classic, starting off the franchise, still really good to watch today. It's a great movie. Then under that, we have The Force Awakens. It is really good, and I enjoyed it, although it loses points for basically rehashing the last one, but it is still very solid. Then under that, Revenge of the Sith. It has some strong points, but it also has some very weak points. It's a very conflicted movie. Then under that, we have Phantom Menace. It's got pod racing, it's got Darth Maul, it's got Duel of the Fates, the song. And that's about it. And then finally at the bottom, of course, Attack of the Clones. There's nothing good about that movie. It is terrible and probably the worst movie that I own. And yes, I own it because I'm a completionist. I gotta have the whole series. So where does Last Jedi fit on this list? Well, let's talk about it. So The Last Jedi is brought to us by director Rian Johnson, who did Looper, and I still haven't seen that movie, so let me know if it's good in the comments, because I still haven't seen it yet. Anyways, the general plot is after the events of The Force Awakens, and even though the rebellion destroyed the Starkiller base, the fact that the First Order destroyed basically the government of the galaxy, they've taken military control of the entire galaxy and are looking to squash out the remnants of what's left of the rebellion. And it's also up to Rey to bring Luke Skywalker back to the rebellion, and it's up to the rebellion to, stay alive and not get squashed by the Empire. Broad strokes, no spoilers, that's the general plot of this movie. So let's get into the characters. So we got, of course, our returning characters of Rey, Finn, Poe, Leia, Luke, Kylo Ren, and Snoke. I don't want to go specifically into too many of them, but here are the three standouts to me. First one, Adam Driver's Kylo Ren. Man, he kills it in this movie. Seriously, there's a scene with no dialogue, and it's just the look on his face, and you know everything by this look on his face. It's so good. Adam Driver kills it in this movie. Well done. We got Poe Dameron, once again played by Oscar Isaacs. Me and Poe are basically the same dude. We're both cool guys with cool jackets, although I have a cool hat. He has a cool jacket. Both cool guys with a cool thing that we wear, flying around the galaxy in a starship with our robot buddy. I mean, we're basically the same guy. But now, Poe is awesome. I think he might have the most character growth, which is saying a lot in this movie. But I really like what he does and where he's coming from and, how he's learning to become a leader rather than, an ace pilot kind of thing. I like what they did there. I really liked Poe. And, of course, we have to talk Luke Skywalker, once again played by Mark Hamill. Of course, to everyone's, disappointment, is he was only in the very end of The Force Awakens, so obviously he's playing a much bigger role in this movie. He is great. This is basically his fifth symphony, or his grand masterpiece of Luke Skywalker. It's totally bringing this character home and back around. You get the ideas and feelings that like he's the old young Luke Skywalker still, and then yet he's still the old man. You can really feel the growth of this character, and it's really well done, really well handled. And Mark Hamill is once again fantastic. He did a great job. I love what he did. And we got a few new characters which I'd like to talk about. First off is Rose, played by Kelly Marie Tran from College Humor? Really?
Geechee's mouse is different now. Different how? It's skinny.
Kids born in 2000 are teenagers now.
No, I won't. I don't
Teenagers.
believe it. No.
I'm gonna be sick.
Well.
Oh, holy shit, that is her. Weird. Apparently you can start on YouTube and get into the movies. Any casting directors out there? Anyways, she plays a technician aboard a spacecraft. I don't know if they officially give her rank or what she is exactly, but her and Finn go on this side mission. She's very cool. She's a bit of a stand-in for the new Star Wars fan, which I'll get into later. But she's a really good character. I like what she does, and it's some good times. We have Vice Admiral Holdo, played by Laura Dern from Jurassic Park fame. She is really good in this. Very, no nonsense, take charge kind of lady. She butts heads with Poe Dameron, but she's got a grand plan, and she's a very solid, well-made character. Not given a ton to do, but I really like what she did. And finally, Benicio del Toro, who plays DJ, who's kind of a bit of a hacker, I guess you could say. Now, since Disney owns both Star Wars and Marvel, I'm not saying that he's how the universe is connecting, but what I am saying is they don't specifically say that Benicio's character in this movie is not the Collector from the MCU. Throw in your theories now. But Benicio is always fantastic. I love that guy, and you can understand what he says in this movie, which is a hard thing sometimes for Benicio, but well done. So what works well about The Last Jedi? So I'm going to do my video the normal way of non-spoilers, then spoilers. But I'm just going to give you a heads up that I'm going to go very broad strokes and non-spoilers, and this video is going to be mostly the spoilers section. Because I got a lot of talked about there. So I'm going to go very broad strokes with what I liked and what I disliked. But what I liked, of course, is the feel of this movie. It feels like The Force Awakens, which is a good thing because each trilogy has their own feel to it. The prequel trilogy, like it or not, at least feels like a cohesive trilogy. It has the same look and feel. The original trilogy, same thing. It has the same look and feel. Those movies are connected. And this one has the look and feel the same of The Force Awakens. And each one of these is separate than the other, so you know kind of where you're at in the timeline, and I like that. It's a good for continuity's sake. It's good for just the aesthetic. I really like what they did there. And as you notice what I said before, with the characters, the acting in this is phenomenal. Maybe one of the best acted Star Wars movies. It is so good. Everyone brings their A game. It is fantastic. I really, really love everyone's acting in this. And of course, the overall story of this is really good. I can't go into specifics, but I like the themes that are brought up and the ideas and the changes to things. I really like the solid overlying story of this. Again, broad strokes, can't say too much, but yes, the story. And then finally, the comedy. Of course, The Force Awakens had a lot of moments to break things up. And this one, of course, introduces porgs, which apparently a lot of people hate for whatever reason. But porgs were fine. I think they used them the just right amount, maybe slightly on edging too much. But I think they used them enough. They broke up some tense moments. They let some other people have some comedic moments. Finn had some good moments. I think they really balanced the comedy with the serious. It wasn't too dour, but it also wasn't Thor Ragnarok. So yeah, the comedy was very balanced. But no movie is perfect. Where does The Last Jedi fall short? Well, my main complaint is it feels like there's a lot of filler in this movie. The overall emergency of the plot feels very drawn out. The side quest that Finn and Rose go on feels like it's just filler. A lot of the Rey and Luke Skywalker stuff tends to go a little too long. It feels there's a lot of filler in this. It feels just a little long. Even when I was like, man, this is going to end soon, right? Like, we're just about done. It's like, no, we're still going. It keeps going. And you shouldn't feel like that in a movie. It should always feel like it's flowing and like you're coming up to the end when it's the end, not like, are we done yet? So yeah, a lot of filler with this movie. Along with that, there seems to be a bit of an unnecessary lightsaber battle. Won't go into specifics, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It just seems gratuitous. There's some impressive stunts and some really cool things done with lightsabers, but it feels gratuitous. It doesn't feel like it needs to be there. It feels like it could have ended a lot quicker. It just felt unnecessary. And it stood out to me as just a bit of a gratuitous moment. And that's pretty much all my complaints. So it's time to get into spoilers. Like I said, I got a lot to unpack from this movie. So let's throw up the spoiler sign and jump to this time code here if you want to skip the spoilers, because I got a lot to talk about here. A lot. So let's get into it. Let's start with the quick and easy spoilers. The return of Yoda. Yoda's back. He is a Muppet again. Once again, voiced by Frank Oz. Not only that, but it's very much the Empire Strikes Back Yoda. It's the goofy laugh and, making jokes and kind of odd character Yoda. And I really like that. He was just done really well, and it was a great addition and a fun little, lad in there. I liked Yoda, so that was good. And then we got the death of Luke Skywalker at the end, which I felt was handled really well, although slightly odd. So he just sort of... My theory is he basically became part of the Force. Like, it wasn't a bad death or a scary death. It was just he let go and became one with the Force. Like, he served his purpose, now he goes out. And I thought that was handled really well, although odd because Leia makes it to the end. So obviously, Carrie Fisher died, unfortunately. So they gotta kill Leia in the next movie, right? So now it means, like, each movie kills a character from the original trilogy. It's kind of weird. Wonder how they handle that. I'm very curious. And finally, Rey is nobody's child. I kind of guessed that before, but yeah, it's just she's nobody. And I think that's one of the best things for it. Give her... Not everyone needs to be a Skywalker. Not everyone needs to be attached to everything. She's just Rey, man. She's just Rey. She's just herself, and it's great. I thought that was a really good addition to finally spell that out. Hey, it's Rey. So yeah, and also between that and the killing of Snoke, it kind of killed a lot of theories, and I like that. So people can shut up about the Rey and Snoke theories, and we can move on, which is another theme that I'm going to bring up later. And yes, there are many themes in this movie, a lot going out, and a lot to unpack for me. But I came up with 3 main themes of this movie. I think the main theme of this movie is failure. Everyone fails in this movie, and it's okay. You learn from failure, is I think the main thesis. Everyone fails. Luke fails Kylo and turns him to the dark side. Rey fails to bring Luke back to the Resistance, as well as fails to turn Kylo. Poe fails the Resistance not only by going in hot-headed into a battle and losing all their bombers, but also using up their resources and time trying to do this weird side quest that ended up causing more problems than solving. Finn and Rose fail their mission to stop the tracker on the main ship, and Kylo fails to kill Leia, as well as fails to turn Rey, and kind of fails the dark side. It's all about failure and learning from failure, and Yoda kind of spells that out at one point, basically saying you learn from failure. And I thought that was a really good theme and an interesting process with this, to kind of go, it's okay to fail. I like that tie in there. It's a really good theme, not one you see a lot in movies, especially a sci-fi movie. But yeah, I like that. It's okay to fail. It has a really cool theme. And I think you can really go in depth with a lot of that. The other main theme I found was gray. There's a lot of, basically saying a lot of life is the gray area. It's not just the light and the dark, it's the gray. This movie is, of course, like Empire, split into two parts. There's the Force part and the actual war part. There's kind of two stories going on. In the war part, Rose and Finn go off to the casino world, and Rose immediately, demonizes everyone there, saying they made all their money selling weapons to the Empire, and that's why they're all rich. Then Benicio del Toro's character shows that they're not only selling weapons to the Empire, they're selling them to the Rebellion as well, and the Rebellion needs those weapons. And the Rebellion might be causing as much problems as the First Order is. So, it's a bit of a gray area. Life is in that gray area. It also takes place in the Force section of the movie where, when Luke shows Rey the Force and lets her reach out for the first time, she goes right into this dark side, but comes out, showing you can kind of dip into that if you need to, and it doesn't immediately turn you to the dark side. Like, life is in this gray area. And Kylo hits that at one point, after, killing Snoke. He's kind of like, we need to tear this all down, do something new. And there's just a bit of a lot of the gray area there. So I like that that theme as well. So my main theory, which is probably going to be a very unpopular one, but it's something I feel I gathered, and I think there's enough to back it up, and that this movie is about letting the past go, and specifically talking to Star Wars fans, and saying, hey, let the old movies go. I said before in my character descriptions that Rose is the fill-in for the new Star Wars fan. She's excited to see Finn. She's excited about the new stuff going on. She's a new character in and of herself. She is new. Everything about her is new. The Star Wars fan is Poe Dameron. Ready to just go shoot, blasting things, doing things the old way, going in hot-headed, not willing to take a new point of view. Just, it's this way, we're doing it this way, it has to be this way. And unfortunately, it takes a bit of a harsh tone with the old Star Wars fans. And the ship in and of itself is the Star Wars franchise. It's just keeping ahead of all the fanboys hurling lasers at it, basically. And it's just going fast enough to keep out of range of that. But obviously still having parts being destroyed. And I think when Luke says, it's time for the Jedi to die, he was speaking directly to the old Star Wars fans, that you need to let your idea of Star Wars die and let the new people have their Star Wars and stop saying it's not my Star Wars. Because, in the end, Star Wars is for everybody. It's for, it's for the young, it's for the old, it's for the jocks, it's for the geeks, it's for the furries, it's for the squares, it's for everybody. Star Wars is for everybody. But since Star Wars spent like 30 years basically being a nerd thing, nerds have just held on to this, kind of crushing this puppy, it's Star Wars, it's so perfect, it's my Star Wars, you can't do anything with it because this is the Star Wars. And I think Rian Johnson is saying, hey, you became a fan of Star Wars when you were young. You need to let young people like Star Wars. You have to let something new happen with it so this franchise can continue. It's time to tear down the old and build up the new. Again, that's probably a very unpopular opinion, but I think it's kind of right. We all became fans of Star Wars at a young age. And it's time for the new young people to like Star Wars. But they can't just gear Star Wars to old fans. It has to be geared to new people. And I think the porgs play a big role in that. I think it's an experiment to show a point. And I think he delivered that point. So one thing I heard constantly growing up is that the main problem with Return of the Jedi and why it sucks is the Ewoks. and that was the kidification of Star Wars, and everyone hates the Ewoks. And I think in a lot of sense, the porgs are the new Ewoks, and they were put in to show you, like, see, the fans are going to hate this because it's a thing that's new, and it's a thing that's geared for a younger audience. And so all these old grumpy guys are like, no, that's not my Star Wars. And, you know, the thing is, Star Wars was always made for kids. You know, the people that saw it in the 60s and 70s were kids. And if this franchise grew up with you, it would die with you. If it needs to bring in new blood to keep moving. And as a comic fan, that is something that really strikes home a lot. You know, I've really liked the new rated R X-Men movies we got, but in a way, I don't want every comic movie to be rated R, because I became a comic fan when I was a kid, and if everything's for adults, the kids aren't going to have anything to grab onto, so you're not going to have new fans, and it's going to die. And it's time to let forget the old trilogy and do something new. And I think this really hit home with that, and I think at least subconsciously, this might have hit home with a lot of people, being that there's a lot of negative fan splashback on this. But I think it's a valid point, and I think it's illustrated very perfectly. And I think that's what that final scene is about. It's a kid, you know, playing with his action figures, telling his other friends about Luke Skywalker, you know, using his broom as a sword and looking up to the sky. That's your new Star Wars fan. We have to accept not everything is made for just you. Star Wars is for everybody. And I have no proof that this was the main point of this movie, but that's my current theory, and I think there's a lot to tie to that. So, you know, take with that what you can, but I thought that was a very poignant theme throughout this movie, and done very well. And yes, I finally rambled on a lot. I'll probably have to maybe cut some of that and put it into a different video. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's do it. So in the end, currently, as I'm speaking to you right now in the camera, Star Wars The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie ever made. I absolutely loved it. It has some minor flaws, but just nitpicks. I think there's so much depth to this. There's so much good acting. Just so well done. I absolutely loved it. So obviously, I'm giving it a rating of see it right freaking now. Like, let this video keep playing so I get some more playtime on my stats. But go right now and go see The Last Jedi. If you've already seen it, go see it again. I'm going to see it again. I'm going to see it like 3 times. I absolutely love this. I can't wait till it's on DVD and I can break it down and watch it and, you know, build up more theories. There's so much to this, so much to unpack. It's so well done. I freaking love The Last Jedi. It's great, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, may the Force be with you.
Your Honor, I hope I slept with you to get the job, because if not, who the hell was that guy?